Shall we move on then to probably the defining classic of the genre, The Sting?
Yes, here we have what is arguably the Con movie, George Roy Hill's The Sting, from 1973, a huge hit that influenced so much of the genre in the following decades. Reuniting the director with both Paul Newman and Robert Redford a few years after their very successful partnership in Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, it is the tale of a young grifter, Redford's Johnny Hooker. Look, I know I go on about this, but casting a nearly 40-year-old Redford in a role in which he's supposed to be a naive young hustler and is regularly referred to as Kid is, frankly, taking the piss. This kid, whose partner and mentor, Luther, Robert Earl Jones, yes, related to that Earl Jones, and even the voice is very similar, is killed after the two rob from the wrong guy. Hooker himself barely escapes and soon learns that his and Luther's mark was a numbers runner for Robertshaw's Doyle Lonigan, a New York crime boss and one vindictive son of a bitch. This vindictiveness soon sees Luther, an ex-Luther. Vowing revenge, Hooker seeks out an old friend of Luther's, Newman's Henry Gondorf, who agrees to help the younger man take Lonigan for a very large sum of money. Manpower won't be a problem, with Shaw commenting that, after what happened to Luther, I don't think I can get more than 200-300 guys. And once the con is decided upon, a setup known as The Wire, in which bets are placed on horse races whose results are already known due to a small artificial delay in transmitting that information, all that remains is to hook the normally careful Lonigan. This is done by engineering him losing a large sum of money to Gondorf in a card game, then having Hooker pretend to be Gondorf's ambitious employee, telling the gangster how his boss cheated him. Hooker then persuades a furious Lonigan not to simply kill Gondorf, but to help Hooker take him for millions and grab his business while they're at it. Bait taken, a fake betting shop is quickly put together, and Hooker and Gondorf's plan to exact revenge for Luther in the only way they can, financially, gather steam. It doesn't all go smoothly, of course, with a number of problems cropping up along the way, including Lonigan's suspicions and unpredictability, interest from Charles Durning's crooked cop Snyder and Dana Alcar's FBI agent Polk, and the small matter of the assassin still on Hooker's trail over the matter of the swindled numbers runner, Lonigan being unaware that Hooker is the same man he ordered killed. And it's pulling surprises all the way to the end. The Sting looks great, sounds great, is funny, smart, extremely well acted, particularly Redford and Newman, who have a great chemistry and do a lot with just looks, and is not just entertaining, it's fun, with capital letters, and has been one of my favourite films since I was a child. The action is accompanied by a superb score, a combination of Marvin Hamlish compositions and his adaptations of several Scott Joplin ragtime pieces, most notably The Entertainer, which help lend the film a distinctive, jaunty and fun atmosphere. On a side note, I just recently saw several criticisms, some contemporaneous with the film's release, some more recent, that the Scott Joplin music was anachronistic, as if that is any sort of valid concern. I wonder if the same reviewers had a problem with Mozart's music being used in My Left Foot, or Eyes Wide Shut, or Alien, or indeed any film ever, as Mozart died in 1791. Stupid criticism. Digression over. Any criticisms I have are very minor. The framing of the action with the sections of the Sting like acts of a play, and the list of the players at the start, doesn't necessarily detract, but I don't think adds much either, and maybe a little arch or self-referential, and no, that's about it. Well, apart from my aforementioned issue with Redford's character's age, something which would only have needed a few tweaked lines to resolve. Otherwise, excellently entertaining.
Yes, I agree.
Good.
That may be as much as you get from me, because I don't think I've got an awful lot to add. Yes, it is just very entertaining, a very easy watch. Two great actors in the lead roles bouncing off each other, and a very strong supporting cast for them to bounce off too. Not really a weak link in any of this. It's entertaining, it's funny, pretty smart. If you're approaching it with the cynicism that you'd expect to with this kind of film, then yeah, you're probably not going to be surprised by anything here. But that's not really the point of it, I don't think. But it's all very all very entertaining to watch, and it's just an incredibly easy watch, and rightly one of the classics of the genre. Yeah, deeply entertaining and an awful lot of fun. Don't know if there's a lot more to say about it than that, really.
I was slightly apprehensive waiting for your riposte there, Scott, because I told you before that it's been one of my favourite films for my whole life. It's been very young when I first watched this, and I was like, I love it. And I was talking it up quite a bit when we were discussing this episode, and I was like, Scott better not say things it's rubbish. I may have to kill him. And that's just who needs the hassle.
No, I can't. This might as well have been the first time I watched it. I'm sure at some point in the past I watched it, but I remember so little of it that basically I was coming to it for the first time here. And like I say, when all of these films, no one is what they seem. Don't take it at face value. If you do that, you're not going to be surprised by anything that happens in any of these films. But if you are watching it in a rather more passive frame of mind, then sure, it's a lot of fun. And the kind of little twists that they throw here and there are certainly entertaining and crucially not stupid in a way that certain other films we could perhaps mention. It's much more believable as a package, I think, than a lot of its imitators are, which kind of seem a bit more desperate to surprise you by having just things that are wildly unlikely, or just plots that simply would fall apart with the merest of slightest of deviations from the norm. This thing feels an awful lot like it would work, I think primarily because everything that it's based on actually was what was actually happening. It's not quite plucked from the pages of the papers, but I think the actual cons they talk about here really did occur. So obviously perhaps not quite with this stakes and with these people, but the actual mechanics of it are a lot more believable than in many of the other films that we'll talk about. And along with that and some larger than life characters, it all just makes for a very entertaining film. So yes, very good, very good.
If there's anywhere I think it suffers nowadays, it's simply familiarity, not so much with this film, but with the plot and its mechanics, because it's influenced so many films, and one of the films we'll go on to talk about later in this episode has
almost exactly
a very large number of similarities, particularly the ending. And so it perhaps suffers now to go back to watch it, but then it's nearly 50 years old, terrifyingly.
Yeah.
But it still stands up. I'm not a great fan of Robert Redford. I don't particularly dislike him either. Mostly I think of Robert Redford.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's Robert Redford.
That's true. You can't deny it.
Yes, he's not someone like a Dennis Quaid or something that I have strong feelings about. Whereas I've always liked Paul Newman. Paul Newman's fantastic. But the two of them together in this film work particularly well.
Yeah.
And I just will add one small bit of trivia. Again, this is from the internet science site, the Never Wrong Wikipedia. And so I didn't have time to check the veracity of this, but I assume it's not completely made up. It would be a bit strange. But as of 2018, adjusting for inflation, it is the 20th highest grossing film in United States history. That's quite remarkable.
Yes.
Also, not for the first time I've thought that Pauline Kael had terrible taste. As Pauline Kael of New York at the time said, it keeps cranking on section after section and it doesn't have a good spirit. I can think of a few films that have a better spirit, but okay, you do you.